Hey, Sunday. Yeah, yeah. The old boys in a good mood today. Good win for Spurs yesterday at Stoke, won 4-0. An even better win for Celtic at against the Rangers. The first, the old firm game for a long time, about 4 years in the league anyway. And Millwall managed to sort of like get a late equaliser and drew against Coventry. So yeah, football was good all round. I saw on Facebook that some of the Rangers supporters were like smashing up the Celtic toilets, and a bit disappointed to see that. And I hope they were, and that was on a Celtic fans page, so I'm hoping that there wasn't anything the other side. And given the history of those games, it's good that it'd be good if it was only the toilets that got smashed up and not people. Um, that's which is one of the sad things about football. Really, I'm a big football fan. I love it. It's a beautiful game, but that side of it, I do find it just leaves me cold and baffles me really, big time. I just don't see the point really. I get the tribalism, and I get the excitement, I get the shouting and jumping up and down in the ground, but and the other thing I don't get is like on the one hand, you might have a lot of supporters knocking lumps out of each other at a game, and then like a few weeks later, England are playing, and they're all together, and you think, well, hang on, what's all that about? Anyway, that's enough of that. And point, suffice to say, I'm happy about it. And yeah, today it's 9/11 today, isn't it? So it's 15 years ago today since the Twin Towers were blown up, and that was the day the world changed, and I don't know if it'll ever change back. Prior to that, through the 90s, I remember like with the Berlin Wall coming down and the end of communism in Eastern Europe. There's a hell of a lot of commentators and people saying, "Oh, it's the end of history," which as a sort of like sometime historian, I think that's a pretty stupid thing to say. But anyway, and yeah, it clearly wasn't. And the thing as well that happened after that was just this mad knee-jerk response from Bush to go and invade Afghanistan. And you've really got to beware of having politicians who are as thick as ears, because you've only got to look at your history of Afghanistan to see, I mean, in the 18th and 19th century, the whole might of the British Empire couldn't subdue the Afghans. The Russians, with all their might in the 1970s, couldn't. And the thing is, I mean, Afghanistan, well, they're not a people. They're a whole lot of different peoples of warring peoples. Really, they're a warrior. They're warrior people. They live in like mountainous terrain. They've got a history of sort of guerrilla warfare, if you like. How on earth do you think you're going to subdue a people like that? And why do you think it was them? Okay. It was a handy place for old Bin Laden to hide out if it was down to him. But yeah, so and but the bloodshed that's occurred since then, not just there, and then there's also the knock-on effect of the Iraqi war. I mean, the amount of civilians and soldiers and military is just it's just countless, and it's so unnecessary. But and the thing with it is as well, it's another one like the whole Kennedy assassination. Now I'm just about old enough to remember when Kennedy was killed, when he was shot. In fact, me and my dad had been cycling home from my nana's on a Friday night, and when we walked through the door, the first thing my mum said to us was, President Kennedy has been killed. And I think I was about 6 or 7 at the time, and even then I realised that was really seriously bad news. And Likewise with the Twin Towers. I think most people would remember where they were when that happened. I mean, surprise, surprise, I was down the gym, and was able to watch it all on TV there, which is really bizarre. I was watching it as it unfolded. I saw the first tower go down, and the second. Just couldn't believe it. When you saw that second aeroplane coming, I thought, God, surely they're not going to do it again. What's going on? It's just it was absolutely chilling. To be honest, and also similar to the Kennedy assassination. You've now got a whole industry of conspiracy theorists who are coming up with all these wacky out there ideas as to who did it, why they did it. Was it the CIA? Was it this? Was it that? I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to listen to any reasonable sort of argument, but some of what I've heard is a little bit. Perhaps I'd need to look at it a bit closer, before I can make a judgment. And yeah, I mean, maybe that's the whole thing with a lot of these things, that you really need to. Before you can make a judgment, you really need to be aware of all the facts, or as many of the facts as you can possibly accumulate. So yeah, that's. And I remember we went to Florida shortly after that. I did a marathon in Disney World, and the Twin Towers thing was in the September, and this marathon was in the December, January time. And I was just I couldn't believe the level of patriotism, and every single car was flying the Stars and Stripes, everyone. Not just, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, the blacks, the whites, Hispanics, everybody, it's just like the whole nation seemed to sort of like unite behind the flag. So, if they were looking to divide the West, I mean, that had the opposite effect, really. But that's another story, and I think I'll kind of leave it there, because there's still, I'm sure it's still very emotive, and I've got a lot of American friends, and I'm sure maybe have lost people there, or know people who were lost there, because there's so many who were killed, and like saying, the subsequent carnage in the two the wars that's occurred. Again, I'm sure everyone's been touched by it in some way or another. And I'll just sort of finish on this, is just to say thank you for all the positive comments I'm getting from people. It's really very it's very heartening. And when I first started doing this about a month or so ago, I kind of did it as a flyer, and it's now getting to the point where if I'm late doing one, I've got people saying, "Oi, where's our video?" Which is really nice. All except for one person. I've got one person who seems to have, I don't know why, it seems to have a real problem with this, and getting a lot of negative comments. At first I thought it was just a bit of banter, and anyone who knows me knows I love a bit of banter. You don't run a pub for 18 years without being a bit of a banter freak. And but it's sort of just carried on, and being a little bit sort of personal, being a little bit abusive. And I'm not quite sure what this is all about, and maybe I'm putting him in touch with something in himself that he doesn't actually like. I don't know. But, mate, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, and if you don't like me, unfriend me. I don't care, I tried to get in touch with you a couple of years ago when I moved to Essex to find out about the hash house Harriers, and you saw fit not to reply to me. So why you're suddenly on my case with this now, I don't know. So, if you want to unfriend me, so be it. Anyway, to all the rest of you, thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.